Angels.
Yeah.
What's an angel?
Fascinating. Angels are created by God before humankind was created. They are spirit beings, so they're not omniscient like God is. They're not omnipresent like God is. They don't age because there's no physical body. They don't marry because there's no physical body. They're very intelligent, very smart, and they are, according to the Bible, they are to serve not only God but also His people. And what's interesting,
the Christian Bible,
yeah,
with the Hebrew Old Testament,
yeah,
makes reference to these. Is
yes.
there any culture in the world that doesn't believe in some form of angel?
It's pretty universal. Yeah, it is pretty universal.
Like every culture.
Yeah, just virtually every culture.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? It is only recently that America became this, like we're going to dumb down all the spiritual woo-woo stuff, and we're going to keep all the rational advice in the Bible, and all the woo-woo stuff, we're just going to, it's ceased to happen. All the miracles, they've stopped happening. You don't have to worry about that. Speaking in tongues, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that. Healing, God, if He wants to do it, but you don't have to worry about that. But secularism, it's only recently that every single country, you just go 50, 80 years back, every single nation was very spiritual. We're still spiritual, but now we're denying God. It's strange.
Inuit all the way to the Maya.
That's right. That's right.
Canaanites.
And what's interesting about the Christian interpretation of angels is that it says in the book of Hebrews in the Bible that we should anticipate the possibility that we would encounter an angel. In other words, it says sometimes when you're providing hospitality to someone, unbeknownst to you, it's an angel.
Ex-Atheist reveals to Tucker Carlson how angels are operating still today. Let's watch. That's one of the verses I was actually recently asking God about. That verse fascinates me on many levels, but let's not get into that. That's deep.
And so there's an anticipation that perhaps there could be angelic encounters. And so what I try to look at in the book are cases in which we have angelic encounters. People actually encounter an angel. I'll give you an example. There was a missionary named John G. Paton, P-A-T-O-N, from Scotland. And he went to an island in the South Pacific to be a Christian missionary. And he and his wife were living in a cottage there. And he's talking about Jesus. Well, the local tribes people didn't quite like that. And so one day a mob of them came to burn down their house and kill him. So they see this mob forming, and he and his wife are in their house, and what can they do? They start to pray. Say, God, protect us, help us. They're going to kill us. They're going to burn our house down. What do we do? And they prayed all night long. And by dawn, the mob began to dissipate. A year later, he led the head of that mob to faith in Jesus Christ. And they're having a conversation. And John said to him, by the way, do you remember that day when you all came to burn down our house and kill us? Why didn't you do it? And the man said, well, who were all those men you had there? He said, I don't know, men. It was just my wife and I. He said, no. Your house was surrounded by these muscular men in white garments with drawn swords. There's no way we could have hurt you that night. Well, what's the explanation for that? I think it could very well have been an angelic encounter, that God had sent angels to protect him. And there's multiple numbers of cases like that.
Well, give me another.
Well, I had an encounter myself when I was 12 years old. It was the only dream I remember as a child. It was more of a vision than a dream. An angel appeared to me and started extolling heaven, how beautiful and wonderful heaven is. And I looked at him kind of offhandedly and said, well, I'm going to go there someday. And he looked at me and said, how do you know? And I was shocked by that. What do you mean, how do I know? And I started to kind of stumble around to justify my goodness. I said, well, I obey my parents pretty much, and I get good grades in school, and my friends like me, and I'm trying to justify why I would get into heaven. And he looked at me and he said, that doesn't matter. And this chill went through my spine. How can this not matter? And he said, someday you'll understand. And then he disappeared.
I heard, it's in the Bible, right? Okay, question. And I want to know if someone will bring up the Bible verse. Here's the question. Can angels preach the gospel? Can angels preach the gospel? That's the question. So someone please answer that question. Enter in the comment section. I would love to actually see what you guys say. Can Christians, not Christians, angels preach the gospel?
Well, I kind of wrote it off as being a bad pizza and ultimately became an atheist. But 16 years later, as an atheist, my wife brought me to a church and I heard the gospel for the first time. That salvation, that the doors of heaven are not flung open based on how nice you are to your parents or how good grades you get in school.
Mhm.
It's based on the grace of God. It's not something we earn. It's a free gift of God's grace. And I heard that message for the first time, and my mind flashed back to that dream. And I thought, wait a minute. That's what he was trying to tell me back then.
Had you thought a lot about that dream in the subsequent
It would come
years?
to me every once in a while. I think about it. I just suppress it. Well, it was a bad pizza, you know. But then I thought there's two forms of corroboration there. Number one, that angel told me something when I was 12 years old that I did not already know, that salvation is by grace. And secondly, he made a prophecy, a prediction that someday I would understand that came true 16 years later. I think that may have been an angelic encounter that I had. I can't prove it, but that corroboration tells me maybe it really was.
Wow, wow, wow. Angels are real. They are so real. They are so real. They are so real. Well, it's been a pleasure. God bless you. I'll see you next video.